So who would have thought this 4 weeks ago or even 2 weeks ago? House Republicans are eyeing a May 19th vote on Trump's one big, beautiful bill. Can they cobble it together and get his agenda passed in time? Joining us now is Kevin Brady, former House Ways and Means Committee chair from Texas, who saw all of this from a very personal perspective in 2017, and Steve Moore, who was also there in 2017 from another side, looking at how the 2017 tax code was put in place. He is host of More Money on WABC Radio and co-author of The Trump Economic Miracle. And the question is whether we're about to get another one of those. Kevin, first of all, let me compare it with 2017. A lot of us were saying 4 weeks ago that, oh my gosh, this is, in 2017, the administration, the first Trump administration, was so focused on getting rid of Obamacare and wasted precious political capital for months trying to do so. Of course, in the end, there was one senator, Republican senator holdout, who ruined that effort, and it held back the tax bill. Luckily, it passed before the end of 2017, but just by the hair of my skinny chin. Or so I mean, it was really close. Now I look at it and think, maybe they haven't been wasting all this time on tariffs. Maybe, in fact, it's going to be a double whammy. Not only will they get the tax bill through, but they'll also get a decent reorganization of our international trading system.
So I think so. Well, first, David, let me just tell you, anytime I'm on a program with Kevin Hassett, Stephen Moore, on a Larry Kudlow program, each of whom played crucial roles in 2017 tax reform, I know, working with them, this is a good day. So secondly, boy, don't underestimate how impressive it was, the speed at which the House and Senate came together on that reconciliation bill. It's incredibly difficult to do, but it's created the runway that you land tax reform on. They've now, the next step, none of these steps are easy, by the way. They're incredibly difficult in a different way. But now they've got the ability to move on actually writing the legislation. I'm really impressed that they've set a super aggressive timetable in the House. I will tell you, I found unrealistic timetables to be very helpful to me in 2017, as Steve knows, to move this quickly to the president's desk. Yes. Look, there's still some challenges left, but I'm very confident they're going to get this done in a very pro-growth and very timely way.
Steve Moore, how many times over the past 4 weeks have you and I said to each other, both on air and off air, I wish he'd gone for the tax extensions first instead of getting dragged down by this tariff. He's wasting all this political energy, the political capital that he came into the presidency with, on something that's has a very slim chance to getting worked out, all these different trade deals, when he could be laser focused on the tax extensions. But could it be that you and I were both wrong on this?
Well, first of all, Kevin Brady, I think, has the story exactly right, that we could be looking at an historic breakthrough on both trade and taxes, David. Yeah. And, I was telling you off the air, I think if that happens, if we get these trade deals like Kevin Hassett was talking about earlier on your show, and then we get this trade deal, the tax bill done, maybe, I don't know. I don't know what the date they're looking at. I heard 4th of July. I prefer Memorial Day, but I'll take 4th of July. Yeah. If those two things happens, this is a business show. This is an investor show. I think you're going to see one of the biggest booms in the stock market ever. I really do. I think you're going to see a massive turnaround in the bad stock market we've had over the last month or two, and it could be a record high. So yeah. I'm feeling very bullish about things. Now, look, there are still things that could go wrong. Yes. I don't count my chickens till they've hatched.
A lot of moving parts.
But right now, it's looking positive.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts and a lot of moving supply chains, and it's not, right. Kevin, it's not exactly easy. I mean, we saw it during the pandemic. We know what happens when you have these massive changes in supply chains. Now, having said that, most of those supply chain problems and screw-ups happened during the Biden administration. So they were people, frankly, who I think were ill-equipped. People like Pete Buttigieg, who was, ill-equipped to deal with the transportation aspect of changing supply chains and so forth. So I'm not underestimating the importance of these changes, but I think that people who have been even on our side, some conservatives who were really questioning this whole tariff move of the Trump administration may prove to be wrong.
Well, I think that's the hope. And first, I will tell you, President Trump achieved, major reforms that brought back manufacturing jobs to the U.S., brought back $2.5 trillion of investment, new intellectual property, research and development in a way that drove real wages for families to the three highest years on record. So it helped the middle class in a big, big way. I'm hopeful. I know there's big challenges left, on the tax area, on the savings number is going to be huge to unlocking both tax reform and the Senate budget approach that allows the president to make those cuts. And his new proposal is permanent. I think that's key.
Yeah.
I think economically, having lower trade barriers and rates are key. I'm hopeful there's not a universal tariff. That could be about a $2 trillion tax issue, but giving the president the space to really deliver on these agreements while they're moving tax reform, as Steve said, I think that is a great double good whammy.
I'm going to try to get two more questions in, so producers beware. But please help me, gentlemen, in making the answers short. Kevin, one of the things about the 2017 bill that was found to be horrible from the perspective of Republicans in blue states was the limitation on the deductions you could take for state and local taxes. And of course, blue states have huge state and local taxes, and they were limited to $10,000 deductions. They want to raise that. And some of these people, like Congressman Lawler and other Republicans from blue states, are desperate to get that. How would you deal with that? How would you negotiate with them saying, folks, you got to come along with this, but let's make a deal?
So I think the key here is to be reasonable in the approach to find that common ground. First, I think even in those blue states, we saw significant tax cuts across the spectrum for most taxpayers in a really positive way. The key here is not to end up with a number so high that it either creates problems in passing the bill or triggers other pay-fors that
so
are
give us a number, Kevin. Give us a number.
Perhaps.
It's now 10,000. Would you lift it to 100?
Well, no. So short answer. But I will tell you this.
Lawler says 200, by the way, but go ahead quickly.
No way.
So I think the key here is Chairman Smith, Chairman Crapo sitting down at the table, finding the right number, but allowing this bill to go forward, I think is going to be the key. And I know from experience, don't get in the way while they have these negotiations.
All right, Steve, final question. We still have 7 different tax brackets in our tax code. One of the ideas in 2017 was simplifying tax code. It didn't happen. Can we do it this time, or is that asking too much?
Look, I love the idea of flattening out the rates even more. And only 9%, thanks to Kevin Brady's brilliance, only 9% of Americans itemize their deductions. Hey, Kevin, why don't we just get rid of all the deductions, lower the rates to 18% like Steve Forbes says, and you got a flat tax.
Yes.
By the way, and I want to come on record and just say, look, I was one of those doubting Thomases on the tariffs. I'll admit it, and I will eat my hat when Trump pulls this off, because I'm very seldom wrong, and I hope I'm wrong about this one, because I think it could turn out just fine.
Steve Moore, Kevin Brady, wonderful discussion, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Great to see you both.
See you.
Coming